A first alert update. The Waupaca County Planning and Zoning Committee voted today to recommend changes to the county's floodplain ordinance, aimed at giving flood victims an option to elevate substantially damaged homes instead of losing the ability to repair them. The county is required to follow federal, FEMA, and state DNR rules, including the so-called 50% rule that limits how much owners can spend fixing buildings in the floodplain. But cabin owner Jeremy Griesbach and others say the cost formulas don't match real-world repairs and could force many retirees and young families to either spend tens of thousands of dollars to raise their homes or see them torn down.
It's just sad that there's going to be a lot of people put into that situation of houses they may have lived in for decades.
The proposed floodplain changes would now go to the Waupaca County Board for final approval.